Welcome to CEC Gurukul Lectures. In this series of lectures on Archegoneiety, we have so far covered various evolutionary aspects, various structural and anatomical aspects of one of the first land plants, the group which ventured terrestrial habitat for the first time, that is bryophytes. They were also termed as amphibians of the plant world. Now, moving on from this series, when we look at the origin and evolution of various plants, we could find that another advanced group having more or less similar characters, or those characters which must have evolved from those previous characters which bryophytes possessed, they were the one which gradually dominated the terrestrial habitat. Now, these group of plants were also termed as seedless vascular plants, primarily because for the first time during the course of evolution of plants, the vascular elements originated and we could see them in a much developed form, properly distinguished into xylem and phloem. Similar to its predecessors or similar to bryophytes, these group of plants also lacked a seed habitat. So, they were also termed as seedless vascular plants. So, this group of vascular cryptogams or seedless vascular plants, they have been categorized or classified for the ease of study into various subgroups. According to IUCN, whenever we classify or whenever we name any taxon to the rank of division, the term should end with phyta. So, these vascular cryptogams were classified into 4 divisions by a school of botanists such as Smith, such as Zimmerman, way back in 1952 and 54. So, they classified vascular cryptogams into 4 divisions. These 4 divisions were: first, the Xylophyta; second, Lycophyta; third, Sphenophyta; and fourth, Pterophyta. Amongst these, the Xylophyta represented the most primitive of all pteridophytes. It lacked any distinct root, but plant was distinguishable into erect stem and leaves. The leaves were sessile and sometimes very small or absent, and the reproductive organs such as synangium or such as sporangium were clubbed and axially present. Xylotom is one such example, one such member of this division Xylophyta. When we move ahead in evolution, the next plant group, the next division of vascular cryptograms happens to be Lycophyta. Lycophyta is represented by two subcategories, E. Ligulopsida and Ligulopsida. These are the two classes. E. Ligulopsida lack any kind of ligule-like structure in the axils of their leaves, whereas Ligulophyta had distinct, clearly prominent ligules at the adaxial part of their leaves. We shall discuss these structures later on while our discussion in this ongoing lecture. The third division was Sphenophyta, which were represented by jointed nodes and hollow stems. And the fourth or the most advanced pteridophytes were Pterophyta, which were commonly known as ferns. They possessed large leaves, also termed as fronds, and they exhibited circinate vernation. Till now, we have discussed a representative genus from Xylophyta, that is Rhynia as well as Xylotum. Today, we are going to discuss one of the members of division Lycophyta. By understanding its various structure, by understanding its morphology, its anatomy and reproductive aspects, we will also try to understand the characteristic of entire division Lycophyta. This will also enable us to understand the similarities of this plant group with its previous or with its predecessor group, that is Xylophyta, and its relationship with an advanced pteridophytic group, that is Sphenophyta or Pterophyta. When we do any genotypic study, we tend to pick up a representative genus from each of those groups, and by understanding their biology, we also try to understand how these biological characters have gradually evolved from its primitive forms. For example, when we talk about stem, its anatomy, we also try to understand how the structure like xylem, the components of xylem, the structure like phloem and their components have gradually evolved from the first land plant to seedless vascular land plants. And later on, if we go and study these structures in gymnosperms, we could also find out how the evolution of various components of xylem and phloem has taken place. So today, let us begin our discussion with the typological study of the genus Lycopodium. This belongs to division Lycophyta. So Lycopodium is a genus of perennial herbaceous plants that belongs to the family Lycopodiaceae. As discussed, Lycopodium belongs to division Lycophyta, class E. Ligulopsida, family Lycopodiaceae. The family Lycopodiaceae contains approximately 400 species of ferns, and they are spread out in the entire terrestrial form. They are more or less cosmopolitan. They are also found in the cold areas of the globe, the temperate areas, and their span is also found in the tropical and subtropical areas of the globe. One of the most common species of genus Lycopodium is Lycopodium clavatum. This is also commonly known as lycopod, and it is the most widespread Lycopodium species. The plant has long stems, ramified root, and small, approximately 3 to 5 millimeter, linear, acute, persistent and light green leaves. So that entire plant can be distinguishable into three structures: a long stem, a ramified root which is mostly of adventitious in nature, and small light green leaves. Lycopodium is a perennial plant from the spontaneous flora that grows in Europe, North and South America and East Africa. In certain countries like Hungary and other regions of France and Switzerland, it is considered as a plant of national importance, and they have been given national protection also because of their economic importance and their role in the ecology. The extraction from Lycopodium clavatum spores is used for treating urinary diseases, digestive infections, epileptic or pulmonary infections also. And also they are very much useful in rheumatism. So as we discussed, it is a member of subdivision Lycopsida, order Lycopodialis and family Lycopodiaceae. Lycopodium is commonly called as club moss or ground pine or trailing over green. The name club moss has been given because of its resemblance with some of the sturdy moss genus or genera. Their small structure sometimes gives an appearance as if they are some form of sturdy mosses, and the presence of strobilus on the erect branches gives an impression of pine cones, and since they are found on ground or prostrate lying, they are also termed as ground pine. They are represented by 400 species worldwide, and India they are represented by approximately 33 species. One of the most common Lycopodium genus happens to be Lycopodium cernum, Lycopodium clavatum, Lycopodium serratum, Lycopodium volubile, Lycopodium inundatum, Lycopodium phloxmaria, Lycopodium silago. These are some of the most frequently occurring lycopods in India. As far as the habit of lycopods or Lycopodium is concerned, it is mostly found in open woodlands where there is high humidity, the moisture content is very high, and also they prefer acidic soils. Many of the species of Lycopodium happen to be epiphytic in nature. These are those species which are found growing on the barks of higher trees, hanging from the branches, or growing on the dead or decaying woods of a tree trunk. They grow erect and shrubby also. For example, the species Lycopodium clavatum, they generally appear dense and give an appearance of a shrub, as you can see in this diagram. The branches, they grow prostrate for some time and then they grow erect, and on the top of their branches, strobilus, the spore-bearing structures are found. They also have creeping forms, and for example, in case of Lycopodium cernum, they give out erect branches at intervals, and these erect branches, they are highly branched and give a bushy appearance. So for some length they grow and suddenly they branch profusely, and then at the branched ends the spore bearing structure or the strobilus are found. Now let us talk about the external morphology of Lycopodium. As far as the plant body is concerned, the predominant part in the life cycle of Lycopodium is represented by sporophytes. As we could recall, if we could recall from our previous lectures, when we talked about the various genera of bryophytes, there the dominant phase of their life cycle was gametophytic in nature, and sporophytes were dependent nutritionally on gametophytes. They were short-lived and they were the recessive part, or they had the smaller time period during the entire lifespan of the species. As we have moved and as the evolution has proceeded, the sporophytic generation has been favored over the gametophytic generation. One of the most common observation behind this kind of evolutionary selection is possibly the facility of crossing over, and genetic mixing could be assigned for this preference of sporophytic generation over gametophytic generation. These sporophytes can be differentiated into root, stem and leaves. The sporophyte represent the diploidic phase in the life cycle of the plant. On these sporophytic phase, haploidic spores are produced, and these haploidic spores, they germinate to give rise to ephemeral, short-lived gametophytic generation. On these gametophytic generation or gametophytes arise male sex organ, that is Antheridia, and female sex organ, that is Archegonia. When the egg cell inside Archegonia is fused with the spermatozoid, which are still flagellate, if we could recall, the primitive plants, all of them had flagellated anthrazoids. So when the egg cell is fertilized by flagellated anthrazoids, they give rise to zygote and embryo, and from these embryo sporophytic generations once again arise, and the sporophytic generation is the dominant phase of the entire life cycle. Considering the variation in habit of different species, Pritzl divided the genus Lycopodium into two subgenera. One was Eurostachya and the other one was Rhopalostachya. Eurostachya is considered as more primitive subgenus, or Rhopalostachya is considered as more advanced subgenus because of various features, and primarily these features are morphological in nature. All those subgenera which belong to Eurostachya, the stems are erect or pendant, and they are dichotomously branched. In Eurostachya species, roots arise only from the base of the stem. We will talk about the origin of roots in our later coming lectures also. As far as the leaves and sporophylls are concerned, they are almost of similar size, and the vegetative reproduction takes place primarily with the help of bulbils. The example of Eurostachya species are Lycopodium compactum, Lycopodium selago, Lycopodium phlegmaria, etc. In our next lecture, we will talk about the more advanced subgenus that is called as Rhopalostachya. We will discuss the various morphological features of Rhopalostachya, and then we will continue our journey towards the anatomical features of various body parts of Lycopodium, the reproductive methods, the vegetative reproductive method, the sexual reproductive methods, and also we will see the gametophytes in detail, different types of gametophytes, how they are different from each other. Some of them are ephemeral, some of them are found underground. All those details in our next lecture. Stay tuned. Thank you so much.